Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
And I'm Christy, and we're back to recap Katie's season of The Bachelorette.
We're back for episode 3.
Yes.
You ready, Christy?
I'm ready. This was a very...
Where would you like to begin?
I was just going to say this was a very interesting episode. A lot of heavy topics.
So I guess we probably should start where we left off, which was failing to have a rose ceremony.
Yes. We come back and Karl is still on his nonsense. I think the guys are still questioning him. I think they might have replayed some of what they played last week because I kept hearing the line, "I didn't put anyone on blast." And everyone's saying, "You did."
I believe the term for that is bloviate, which basically just means to talk for a long time about nothing.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
We have a couple people like that this season.
Yes, we'll meet another one this episode later on.
Yeah, so she just completely then cancels the rest of the pre-rose ceremony cocktail party, right?
Yes, says they're going to go straight to the rose ceremony. And then, she goes off to cry some more, I guess. And then the producers send in Greg to comfort her. Yeah. Because, of course.
Cry, talk to the producers, this or that. She did like Greg.
Yes. Anytime the lead is upset, there's always certain guys that get chosen to play the comforter role.
Yeah. Like, oh, you haven't irritated her too much. I guess we'll send you. Yeah. A whole lot of just smacking Karl around.
Yeah, and then right before the rose ceremony, there's this weird scene where they show Karl just pacing by himself, doing air punches, pumping himself up.
I'm unstoppable. If they think they're gonna send me home, they have another thing coming, which is just funny. He has any control over that whatsoever. No. As we were talking about before, I think it was the first episode, just about how it's wait, what is wrong with you? And I think, again, this is maybe just perhaps a trait that ends up in motivational speakers sometimes, just about how, oh, well, I control my destiny. I can do whatever. And it's well, no, you exist in a cruel, dark world that is way more powerful than you can ever be.
Oh, yeah, he has no idea. He doesn't even realize that, all the guys have, bonded together at this point. Because we get this line from Mike, "We have the responsibility to protect the queen." Which we'll see later on actually meant something. I thought it was just a line at the time.
Yeah, well, I guess nothing brings people together. And we've seen this throughout history, both on The Bachelor, but also in general history. And it's kind of scary sometimes. But there's nothing quite like a shared hatred of somebody or some other group to really light a fire under people. And in this case, Karl is that person that bonded everybody together. I thought it was pretty funny. During that section, Trey, who you already know that I love his outbursts, but he had an ITM and he's just he's talking about Karl and he's like, "You worm."
I somehow missed that while it was airing, but that's really funny.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, they don't like Karl and what Karl has done.
Yeah, I just also have to say that the leads need different words when they're starting the rose ceremony, because it's the same thing all the time. Here to find my husband. I'm here to fall in love. I'm still confused, but I'm just going to follow my heart.
Is this a general thing or is this a Katie specific thing? I don't remember
No,
what.
all the leads say this rigmarole before they hand out roses. I just want them to be a little more candid. Like, Karl, you really ruined the evening.
Unfortunately, I don't know that you can get what your heart desires here.
No, probably not.
Particularly if it is, because I don't remember what it was that Matt said, but I mean, you gotta. It's the. I don't know if we've ever talked about this necessarily, but in some ways, The Bachelor is like a church. They have all of their ceremonies and rituals and order of worship.
Yes.
in some ways, and things like always having this little blurb that's the same right before the rose ceremony. I mean, it's the same thing that TK have picked up the mantle of Chris now that he's left, where you'd always come out and be like, you know, men, or I forget what he said, but like, yeah, men, this is the final rose.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You also have a lot of.
It's very religious.
Yeah.
It's like this very sort of cult-like experience.
You also have had a lot of Christian contestants over the years as well to fit in with that theme.
Yeah, well, it's more like the Church of Satan, am I right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I'm not sure the theology is the greatest, but.
Yeah, well, what about this rose ceremony, Christy?
Yeah, this is something we've never seen before during a rose ceremony, like, ever. So, like, she's going along with the names, and we get to Mike P. So, like, he accepts his rose, and then he, like, starts to talk to her. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And then he's like, this isn't something we want to do now, but we've come together to tell you, like, what Karl said isn't the truth and that he's lying. And just kind of walks back to, like, the rest of the guys. And I thought this was a great move. Because you've kind of, like, put it all out in the open. There's no, like, nobody else can really, like, talk to her. It's, like, all there. And she now has to decide what to do. And Karl can't defend himself against it either because everyone else is against him.
Yeah, he didn't have the most pleasant expression on his face, and I don't think he could necessarily hear what Mike said to her because they were a bit far away.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I would imagine that he knew what was being talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know if his style is just like fake it till you make it or what. Like,
that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting too, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but something that I guess what I just wonder a little bit that we have a little bit of semi-associated experience with, but just like how with Mike, as you were saying earlier, he's like, oh, we have to protect the queen, and one other thing that he said, I don't remember if it was that moment or a little bit later, about how it was their responsibility to protect her heart specifically. I suspect that maybe he comes out of some sort of life experience, given that like he's a virgin, and then kind of some of the words that he's said. I suspect that maybe he comes from a certain background.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of funny, but also kind of interesting that that's really his perspective. And I don't know if you have seen other people throughout the years in Bachelor have a similar bent to them, but it seems like a very specific type of thing where it's like, okay, we have to protect her very specifically.
Yeah, I've heard language like that before. Like, usually when you hear protect her heart, that's a very specific kind of language that I think both of us are very familiar with. So it makes sense coming from Mike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, of course, this rattles Katie and she has to leave. Talks to TK.
Yep.
This conversation seemed a bit scripted, honestly, but
No.
they're just like, well, Katie, you get to decide what you want to do. Like,
Yeah, like you just hook off already, follow your heart.
yeah. Oh, one thing though, she said she was planning to keep Karl initially. What? Why?
Look, I don't know what to tell you.
Or was that just the producers? But that doesn't really make sense because then they let her get rid of him. So I don't know. That was puzzling to me.
Yeah, I think that both of us definitely would have been shocked a bit had he stayed. So I guess it's a good thing that Mike said something.
Yes. Kind of threw a wrench in things.
Which, I mean, how... I don't know. You gotta, like... Imagine being in their shoes and you're like, is Karl gonna actually stay here? Like, is one of us gonna get sent home and Karl gets to stay here? I feel like there would have been a lot of really angry people.
Yeah, which is probably why she sent him home. Because she's like, well, all the guys are going to be against me if I keep him.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't have been a great look for her to keep him, particularly after getting talked to by Mike. Yeah, we might have had the first Bachelorette murder had that happened. Any other things of note from the rose ceremony?
Not really. The men seemed to like John. He unfortunately went home, but they like all clapped when he left.
Yeah, he was he seemed like a pretty friendly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly normal as far as bachelorette standards. The one funny thing that I was cracking up about was after the final rose was given to Aaron, they just have the normal okay, that was the final rose. If you guys, whoever didn't get a rose is got to get out of here, like say your goodbyes and everything. And so normally, at least in my experience, the guys kind of go around, kind of saying their goodbyes to each other, and then like maybe talk to the lead on their way out. And so you have John, who starts mingling with everybody, like starts hugging these guys and stuff, and Karl is just sort of standing to the side awkwardly, like,
I mean, what are you going to do at that point? Nobody likes you.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it to himself.
Yeah, it was just, I think probably the humorous thing to me was that, again, he projected such an image of himself that really didn't seem to line up to reality, both with just how he tried to like make himself important and influential, like how he was talking about that he was going to, fix things in the rose ceremony from the first episode, like all these different things. Is like he had such strong belief that he had so much more power than he had. But also, when push comes to shove, and sort of I think you saw that in the what was supposed to be, pre-rose ceremony from last episode, where I don't think he really, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think he necessarily believed that anybody would challenge him or that it would sort of come to light.
Yeah.
And so when, like, he thought that he was smooth and stuff and that he was influencing things behind the scenes, and he really wasn't. And so it got brought to light, and he had nothing because he couldn't deal with it. He wasn't in a place where he could actually deal with that. And so that kind of carried through sort of to where he then got sent home, right? Because in Matt's season, you had Victoria, who I would say arguably more annoying than Karl. I would say maybe more humorous as well, even though he seemed like a pretty toxic person. But she at least seemed to back herself up and actually did seem to believe in herself, as ridiculous as she was. And sort of you saw that in the differences in their exits, because nobody really, for the most part, liked Victoria either. I don't think there wasn't the same unanimous, like, get her out of here, but she didn't have many fans. But still, she walked right up to that man and was like, I forget exactly what she said, but something to the effect of, "This is the worst mistake you've ever made in your entire life, and goodbye." And, like, she just, like, she left very much on her own terms, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think Karl was thinking, if I reveal this stuff to Katie, like, she'll really like me more. And it was just a giant miscalculation on his part. Because he didn't do it completely. He did it like halfway and then expected like the rest of the guys to finish it for him, but they didn't take the bait. So that leaves him.
Yeah, because what person is gonna be? I mean, you saw how much of a rigmarole it was later to get a certain someone to actually admit anything like that. Like, you're not gonna find somebody who's gonna do that, most likely, even if, right? Because I'm sure he was right.
Yeah.
Because this is the Bachelorette.
Why didn't he call out a certain somebody then?
I don't know if he, like, just didn't know. Like, that's the thing. We don't know what it was he actually knew, if anything, or if he was just trying to stir up trouble and get on Katie's good side.
I would actually be interested in, like, an exit interview from him, like, on a podcast or something. Like, who were you talking about?
Well, let's reach out.
Oh.
I mean, you probably shouldn't listen to our previous episodes.
Yeah, you can't listen to last week's.
Oh, man. Well, everything is ruined again. Rose ceremony at the beginning of an episode.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, it doesn't fix itself at the end of this one.
Oh, of course not.
So it is now time for a group date.
Oh, yeah. And you have information that you promised me.
Oh, yeah, you asked who Nick Viall is, because Katie takes all the men to, like, this dark room with, like, spotlights with chairs sitting in a circle.
Yeah, like an Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Sort of vibe.
So Nick Viall was a contestant on Andy Dorfman's season, which was quite a few years ago. He made it to final 2. Sort of like got down on one knee. She rejected him at the altar.
Oof.
So then the next Bachelorette season, he shows up like partway through on Caitlin Bristow's season. One half of TK. So it's just kind of weird. He also made it to the final 2 of that one, got rejected at the altar.
Oof.
So 2 seasons in a row, gets dumped at the end. Then he goes on Bachelor in Paradise, is like sort of dating this girl who he dumps so that he can basically become the next Bachelor.
Oof again.
So then he got engaged to a girl on that season. They lasted for a bit or so after the show, and then they broke up. And now he is 40 years old, dating a 22-year-old Instagram model. So that's the history of Nick, who is now qualified to sit in a circle with these guys and have them tell.
I don't like that. I don't like that whatsoever. Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole and the guys were kind of freaking out a little bit because the date card didn't end with love Katie or like heart Katie or anything, because it was something like how love is about honesty and I need 100%, but it was very ominous ...
Yes, they should have known they were in for it at that point.
Mm-hmm. Which, as I told you while we were watching the episode, I would not want to be on the first date after drama went down like the drama that went down.
Yeah, because that's going to be a talking point for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so illuminate us, Christy. What's going on here?
Well, it was, to me, slightly unclear what the meeting was at the beginning, but Nick's like, I'm here to hold you guys accountable. And I was like, what does that mean? And then they talked about like sharing your heart or like your past. And then Nick just kind of like talks to Hunter first. Is like, Hunter, how you doing? And Hunter is like forced to like spill. I don't know how they knew what they were supposed to talk about, but
well, she was just saying how she wanted them to talk about their pasts and be honest. Like, we've all done things we aren't proud of. Like,
yeah, I guess
all that.
I guess they all took it.
So it's sort of like this confessional thing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they all kind of took it in the direction of past relationships, but it turns out Hunter was married, has a son and a daughter, but they, I guess, drifted apart. They got divorced.
Yeah, basically, it seems like this was all about how, like, they were supposed to talk about how, they had made mistakes in their past or whatever, and they had learned from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, I like ruined the best thing I had, and like I know, like I'm not like finding love again. Like I'm not gonna take it for granted, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, this got really heavy really fast. Then he had Courtney. We didn't quite see all of these, but like he said, he made a mistake that broke trust with her. So now I'm wondering, what did you cheat on her?
Yeah, Chrissy, people who would go on The Bachelor or Bachelorette would never cheat on anyone, okay? And I can't believe that you would ever insinuate such a thing.
Well, what is this mistake then?
We don't get to know that, Christy. They didn't show it in the edit. Yeah, because they did sort of like a montage.
Yeah, we didn't hear much from Aaron either.
No, just that. It's just like how it became an obligation to be with his girlfriend. He didn't actually want to be with her. Like, which is stuff really you love to
I
do
know.
when you're potentially, well, I love how I keep saying potentially. It's like Katie's literally dating all of them at the same time. There is no potentially.
Yeah, at least on a surface level.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Mr. Butthole himself.
Yeah, it is Thomas's turn. And he just has a giant word salad. I couldn't even catch all of it. Stuff like, since the moment I met you, blah, blah, blah. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, okay.
I couldn't say when I first got here I was here for the right reasons. I thought I could at least build a platform, and that's red flag, red flag, red flag. The feelings I have are real. I've led people on. I went on a date the day before I left. It was such like complete crap. I don't know what he was thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost told you this last episode, but he has a very punchable face. I don't know if you've ever heard that expression.
Yes. He's so smug.
Yes, very smug. Always just like it was totally just telling her things that he thought she might want to hear, while not actually divulging any sort of useful or meaningful information whatsoever.
Yeah, he completely skirted around the assignment.
Oh yeah, that is 100% par for the course. Yeah, I mean, just talking about not random nonsense. And it's like all the other guys are like sitting there like tears streaming down their face as they've like talked about like these terrible things they've done. Like, I mean, Hunter was just completely broken up by what he shared, and then you have Thomas, who's just like sitting there smiling like a psychopath.
Yeah, it was quite a stark contrast to everyone else.
Oh yeah, yeah. Particularly since we then transitioned to Cotter.
Yeah, this
Catman himself.
This was quite a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it turns out he was in his mid-20s. He was in grad school. Eventually dropped out. Started drinking a lot. He said he would get really angry when he was drunk, say a lot of cruel things. One time he got high and then cheated on his girlfriend. Basically blew up his life. Like, as he was telling the story, I thought we were headed in a drunk driving direction, but thankfully not. Eventually went to therapy. He's like, I'm a better person now. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was tough to listen to.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back to a time when I just knew him as innocent Catman.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, life is hard, and
yeah,
people make dumb decisions.
Yep. I'm glad he came out on the other side, though.
Mm-hmm. He appears to still be alive. And he appeared, and as he said, he's like, well, like I would have told you that, like, but I would have preferred to tell it to you in private.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yes, that is something that would much prefer to say in private.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of these group spill your darkest secret dates. It just feels very exploitative.
On The Bachelorette? No, Christy, The Bachelorette and The Bachelor protects their hearts.
Is that so?
Yeah, as we've talked about before, it is generally a pretty exploitative show That's tough. I mean, again, they sign up for it,
True.
so I don't feel that sorry for them, but still, it is rough.
And just when you think you reached the end, it's now Katie's turn.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently 10 years ago on New Year's Eve, she'd been drinking, and then these are the words she used: involved in a situation where there wasn't consent. And so she was like in denial for a while, tried to even be in a relationship with that person, but that obviously did not work out. And then kind of like...
because
go ahead.
being in a relationship with somebody who has sexually assaulted you, and particularly given that you're in a relationship with the type of person who would sexually assault you, it's not going to end well.
No, she ended up having an unhealthy relationship with sex for a while, so it took a lot to get to where she is now, where she's comfortable talking about it, which I do feel like gave a little more context to the whole Katie sex positive storyline we've been hearing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm still skeptical because it's a very ABC thing to do. But yeah, I mean, it does make a little bit more sense. It is also just like, just talking about how like felt blame or even potentially got blamed by some people for the situation, and it's just like,
yeah,
why?
It wasn't her fault. Bachelor did share the sexual assault hotline, like at the commercial break right after that, which I thought was good, because there's a lot of people who have been affected by that.
Yep. And man, it's just like ridiculous. It's like, oh man, if you just hadn't been drinking, if you just worn better clothes, it's like, yeah, because that's totally gonna stop people who want to sexually assault other people.
Yeah, you can get assaulted wearing a turtleneck. It is not the clothing, people.
Fun times. Is there anything else from this group date that's worth mentioning?
Well, at the nighttime portion, I think a lot of the conversations were just kind of reacting to all the stories people had shared. Like,
I always forget that it's just like it's another part of the same date.
Oh.
I was like, oh, they're in a different setting, different date, different time,
different clothes sometimes. So I think the main thing was Katie's convo with Thomas, where she asks, like, what are the red flags you said you were happy to discuss? And he just completely dodges the question.
Yeah, I just love too how she asked him this twice, right? And after the second time, she's like, yeah, you seem to be like dodging the question, and he's like, no, I'm not dodging the question. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And it was like, she literally just asked you twice the question that she wanted the answer to, and you're still not answering her.
I know, and it was so obvious he didn't answer. Like, at least say something.
Yeah, at least make some crap up or something. Like,
yeah, he's very like swarmy.
Yeah, a pretty gross individual. The other thing, so because this was part of the same date. Now that I know that it's just the nighttime portion of the same date. But Katie's conversation with Michael, right? Michael A. Is it Michael
Are you talking
A
about
or is
the guy with the kids?
yes?
So he gets the one-on-one after this.
Really?
The one with the son? Like where he talked about his wife dying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one-on-one.
Oh my goodness. I gotta organize my crap better. Unbelievable. Yeah, I will go. Okay. Well, yeah. I can't believe I put this in the same spot. But yeah, because I have a note here that just says Thomas is way too smiley.
Oh, well, that is true too. Like he at some point Katie and Aaron were talking, and then Thomas is just like pacing in the background like a creeper, like waiting for them to finish talking.
Know. Yeah, I say I love, and I really don't. I am being completely non-serious, but just how from time to time people like interrupt other people and be like, "Oh, can I like steal for a bit?" It's like, go away. Nobody cares. It's always not important. It's always annoying. Just leave me alone.
Yeah. So he sits down and unleashes another load of BS. Like, it was put on my heart so heavy. What does that even mean? To start off with. And he's like, I need to express where I was coming from before, because apparently he needed to clarify things.
Yeah, cool. And I had a flashback to Karl here, right, where it's very much the same sort of situation where he thinks that he's in control and that he can kind of sort of stage manage things to the outcomes that he wants, and so he didn't think that the conversation that he had with her before had the outcome that he wanted,
which was his own fault for not answering the question.
Oh yeah, totally, 100%. Yes, for sure. But again, he like in that same sort of way, he's like, oh, this didn't go exactly how I wanted. I need to fix this. And so then he's like pacing around trying to figure out how to do that, and then he's like, okay, sorry, Aaron, I need to talk to her. And as I told you while we were watching, I was like, yeah, I seriously doubt that anything has ever been put on his heart so heavy.
No. And then he had this line, when I look at you, I feel fear and love. I haven't felt this way in a while. I feel an energy. And like Katie is eating this all up.
Yeah, I just
Katie's like, you're so passionate, and they start making out. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and of course, like, do you hear that?
No.
The trash man is here.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just like these. I didn't really expect this was going to happen necessarily, but immediately the guys have another Karl. Like, it's just another guy that they all hate.
Yes, they are displeased. He got extra time.
Oh, just slightly, yes. Yeah, Aaron was very angry.
Oh. Yeah, he stays mad the rest of this episode.
Aaron doesn't forget.
No. So Connor gets the group date rose.
Yep, not a surprise. Which is just, I mean, it's, man, that's just, like knowing, like I don't know if I would want to know all that information about all those people.
Yeah, I feel like it changes how you see them.
And though I guess not a ton, because he still got the rose. I mean, I guess like context is important. It's just tough because like I don't know. This isn't something I've really thought about much before, but like I feel like it might be kind of difficult to be in a relationship with somebody who has cheated on somebody before.
Yes, I would always be worried.
And again, maybe that dynamic changes some since I get there were other circumstances at play, but still I feel like that would be tough. And of course, yeah, I guess I should mention here too, like at the end, this is her thing. This is just like another cult-like element. But every time she finishes the group date, she's like, "This is what I appreciated about you on the group date, and this is what I appreciate about you on the group date." And I don't know. I don't mind it. I might even like it. It's just kind of funny how she goes around and does that so specifically at the end of each group date.
Yeah, it's kind of like here's first, second, and third place, or here's the runner-ups, like at a pageant.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess I'm glad Cat Guy is safe.
Yes, he is safe for now.
Okay, and I guess I realize I got confused because what I wrote down was about it wasn't an ITM, it was just sort of a cutaway where Michael was talking about it with guys. I guess they were like in a hot tub or something, maybe.
Yeah, he talked to Mike and one other guy I don't remember about his wife.
Yeah. So I'm not totally crazy. I'm just mostly crazy. Yeah, so how about this one-on-one?
Well, it starts off with Katie driving a dune buggy and flipping it over. Just a great start.
Yeah, you gotta get all your death and dismemberment in on the Bachelorette. You gotta attract the thrill seekers of the audience.
Yeah, they rode one around too together. And didn't flip over, thankfully.
Yeah. Is that something you would enjoy?
It is not.
I don't think our audience is at all surprised by that.
No.
Given how you're like, oh, I wouldn't want to rappel down that building. Ugh. Jumping out of a perfectly functional aircraft? No, thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if the aircraft has a door that can be opened in flight, I mean, I feel like it's just asking for it to jump out. It's like telling you got to get out. You got to jump.
Only if the plane is going down.
Well, the plane would be going down eventually.
No, but free fall kind of going down.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they seem to be into each other.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, there was a fair amount of kissing on this date.
Yeah, it didn't seem like she was into him in previous episodes, but that changed, I think.
Mm-hmm. Even before she found out, which is kind of interesting.
I think that was kind of all for the daytime.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just dune buggies and kissing.
Yep, they set up that he has a lot more to share, which he's saving till the night portion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he met his wife on, I'm assuming, in college. They got married in 2012. They had a son born in 2016. And then 7 months after that, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then his wife died in 2019. Which is just awful.
Yeah, it is very awful.
But he says he's finally gotten to the place where he's ready to open up his heart. Which I guess it's been about 2 years, or almost 2 years at this point.
No, it's been over 2 years, right? Because wasn't it didn't she die in the beginning?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they filmed this. Yeah.
So,
So it's just over, over 2.
Yeah, I always forget too that it's like, oh, they recorded this a long time ago. So yeah, so it's not quite. Yeah, it's
just over 2.
Not 2.5 years, but a little over 2. Yeah, that's just tough thing after tough thing on this episode.
Yeah, a lot of, sexual assault, alcoholism, breast cancer, just a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also may have to adjust my original assessment.
Of Michael?
Of Michael, yes. And his future on the show, I mean.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming.
And I maybe I just missed this. Maybe I'm just a terrible person and made assumptions, which is entirely possible. And of course, I'm sure too I'm sure too that the producers like wanted people to make assumptions from the perspective, right, of you see this guy on the show who says he's a single dad, like he has a young kid, and she's like, oh wow, he just like couldn't keep a marriage together, like well, he has enough free time to like be on the Bachelorette, like he's like his son must not be that important to him, but the circumstances are actually quite different. So
oh yeah, I guess I had known his wife died already, so I kind of like had that in the back of my mind. But yeah,
just because of your knowing everything.
I mean, I saw it might have been in his bio, maybe on EBC, or I saw it on Reddit or something. But yeah, I didn't think he would. I didn't see him getting a one-on-one at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah. Well, I guess that just goes to show you appearances can be deceiving.
Yep, he gets the rose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that was actually like. I mean, yeah, you didn't particularly get enthused by the daytime portion of the day. But like as far as the nighttime portion of the day, I feel like that was probably the best that I've seen.
Yeah, it was nice.
Because normally they sit at the table and have dinner, and then sometimes go outside and sit somewhere and watch the fireworks meant to freak everybody else out.
Yeah, the stargazing was a nice change, I'd say.
Yep, got to go up on the roof and watch the stars. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
More unique. Ugh. Dang it! I hate having to change my mind.
So it's now time for another group date, which we will not see this episode at all.
No, nope, not the group date, not the next rose ceremony. Everything's ruined again because of freaking Karl.
Yes, and Thomas is also partly to blame. I think, at least. It's like all the guys are like complaining about him, and then he like walks into the room. And
yeah, I always get a kick out of when that happens, because obviously they're talking about the person. Obviously they're saying terrible things about the person, but then the person comes in and they're like, and like changes the subject.
Yeah, but this time Hunter takes it upon himself to announce to the whole group that Thomas is lying. Or at least that's how they all feel. It feels like a campaign. And he asks Thomas, has it crossed your mind to be the Bachelor? And then Thomas unleashes another line, or a series of lines. But this one in particular, I can't be disingenuine. Which is not the correct use, or not the correct word there. And then he finally admits, one of the thoughts on my mind was potentially being the next Bachelor, but now it's gone from my mind.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a lie.
Doubt. Yeah, that's for sure not true. Yeah, because Hunter also talked to him earlier as well. He sort of had as much of a heart-to-heart as you can with a cold fish as like Thomas. And I guess raised enough concern that he felt like he needed to bring it up in front of the whole group there at the end.
Yeah, well, all of this group, like, feelings about Thomas, and that he's so, like, manipulative, wants to be the next Bachelor, not here for the right reasons. I just think it's ridiculous, because all of them are there for the wrong reasons. They're all there to get followers, so why...
No!
Why is it such a big deal that Thomas is the one who verbalized what they're all thinking? Every last one of them has thought about being the Bachelor.
Christy, the rest of them are there for love and love only.
That's what they want you to believe. But they are all just as
Christy,
bad.
It's true.
This like self-righteous, like, oh, I'm here for Katie. Like, just stop.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it maybe it may be more about like from the perspective of people rocking the boat or people kind of disrupting the equilibrium, right? Because yeah, they may all of them may be there for the quote unquote wrong reasons. I mean, maybe some of them are there for the right reason. I don't want to speculate here. But yeah, I think it has to do more with that, right? Because if you say all of them are just there primarily to grow their Instagram followers and get sponsorships and crap like that. And like as a bonus, like maybe they make it far enough and get to, have sex with this conventionally attractive person. That would be great. Whatever. But I feel like you get people in that situation, and that may be everyone's objective, probably. But if you have people like a Karl, like a Thomas, yeah, they may have the same objective as everybody else, but they're sort of going about it in such a way that jeopardizes things for everybody else, right? So in the instance, in this Karl situation, right, I'm sure a lot of them would have loved to like sabotage somebody else. But he went about it in such a way that it wasn't smart. It was totally just half-baked, and he ended up making Katie super upset. Like, right, because I think at the back of everybody's mind, there's this fear that Katie could just be done. Right? Because, I mean, I don't know what the contracts for these people look like, but theoretically, as damaging as it would be, she could just be like, I'm not going to do this. This, like, you guys have broken my trust, etc. And so having somebody like Karl, like, that puts things in jeopardy because he's then made her super upset. He's made it harder for everybody else to get on Katie's good side because she's now, like, super overthinking things more than she did. Like, all these different elements. Same with Thomas. Like, if Thomas continues and he's, like, sweet-talking her and, like, she's growing really close to him, one he's then sending other people home and keeping him, sending other people home who aren't going to rock the boat. And then once it actually then explodes in the future and it kind of comes out that, oh yeah, I was just here to be the Bachelor all along, then it's the same. It's Karl 2.0, right? Where now she's super upset. She doesn't trust anybody anymore because she's dragged this guy along through the process so far. And it's like, well, if he was, just BSing me the entire time, then is everybody just BSing me the entire time? And so, like, as we've talked about, it's sort of this ecosystem, and people like that jeopardize the ecosystem. And so even if 95% of the other guys came on the show being like, well, like, yeah, it would be totally cool to, like, be in a short-term relationship with this person, but, like, I'd really love to be the next Bachelor because that would really explode my platform and get me really lots of views and stuff. It's still a bit different from that perspective.
Yeah, those are good points. But I mean, Thomas for sure needs to go. He's he's just, ugh. I don't even know how else to describe him.
Yeah, because it's not even like a Victoria situation where, as awful as she is, it's funny.
She was more blatant.
To watch.
Thomas is more like beneath the surface, kind of.
Yeah, and again, just that excessive smile. Like, even this conversation they had with the group of guys where they're, like, trying to get him to admit to stuff. He's, like, smiling like a maniac. Like, oh, I would never want to, like, make you guys think this or that. Like,
yeah, it's such a fake facade I feel like he's putting on.
Yep. It's great. Yeah. Unfortunately, he might survive for a while. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully she's able to see through him. The guys at some point may stage another intervention, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just kind of funny to see. It's like, well, I don't trust any of you. But you're like, but they're like, well, we might not be great, but like, we're not trying to take advantage of you that much.
Yeah, he's definitely the worst of the bunch at this point.
Yeah, I guess I just, it's hard for me to know, and I'm gonna use the word upset here. Like, this doesn't affect me on an emotional level, so it's not actually true that I would be upset, but it's more, I guess, like, it may be more accurate to say, like, talk about expectations, right? It's hard for me to know what my expectation should be, and maybe as a viewer, I should just be kind of suspending disbelief and like going along with things and be like, oh my goodness, oh Thomas, how could you do this? Oh. But as somebody who is very cynical, my my perspective often ends up quite skewed. And so where I'm going with this is like, well, how much of this should I actually take at face value? And specifically talking about, right, how Katie's whole mantra this whole time, right, is that she is here to find love and a husband and be sex positive. So, is that actually true?
Oh, from Katie's? I mean, she keeps saying it, so
Yeah, well,
I mean,
Thomas keeps saying random garbage.
I'm sure Katie is loving the Instagram bump she's getting as well, and the TikTok bump. She's has a lot of followers on there as well. And if she finds someone, bonus.
Wow, that's awfully cynical of you, Christy. Unbelievable. Yeah, I guess maybe it's a little easier to believe, possibly, that the lead might be a little bit more serious.
Yeah, especially the Bachelorettes. The Bachelorettes tend to pick better, like on average, compared to the Bachelors on this show.
Mm-hmm. Because really, I mean, is there a, I mean, besides just like being somebody who maybe isn't great or likely to have a long-term relationship, like, is there a huge amount of incentive for the leads to fail? Because like, what, like, how likely is it that a lead is going to get recycled back through like Bachelor in Paradise or another like Bachelorette season?
Well, the leads generally don't. There's been, I've heard some rumors, but generally leads don't come back on.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe it is more likely that she's serious,
yeah,
about that, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel like the most lucrative path would be, so like, say you're a woman, so Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yeah, just hit them all.
Oh yeah, so like fail to find love on The Bachelor and then get shuffled to Bachelor in Paradise, fail there again, get back to Bachelor, fail to find love, and then be a lead.
I mean, that's essentially what Nick did, Nick Vial. So.
And he's still not happy, is he?
Well, he seems to be happy with this.
Well, he's happy for now, but it's also kind of creepy.
Yeah, a little bit. Almost double her age.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That kind of age gap is kind of strange.
Yeah, like 18, 19 years. On both sides of it, it's weird.
Yeah. I would say it's more weird from his perspective, though. That, like, right? Because, like, so you're saying he's, how old is he? 40
yeah,
something?
40.
Yeah, as a 40-year-old, you meet a woman who's probably, like, not even out of college.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'd date her.
Like, I think she was 21 or something when they started dating. It's just weird.
Like, well, it's technically legal.
Technically,
But
yes.
also real weird. We're also real weird. Oh, man. Any last words on this episode?
No, I think I've said everything.
Well, the end tag was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would be just as bad at that as Katie was.
Well, so I probably, here's the thing. I might not be able to identify where it was, but I would have the correct name for it because this is a throwback to Katie's one-on-one with Michael as they're like lying on the roof stargazing, and she's like, "Oh, like which ones can we see?" And she's like, "Oh, there's O'Brien's belt," which for any astronomy challenged listeners, it's actually Orion's belt.
Yeah.
So she says that, and he's like, that's a name of an Irishman. She's like, what? He's like, it's Orion's belt. So that was pretty.
Yeah, I like relatable moments like that.
Yep, they're people too, believe it or not.
Do you have a kiss count?
Yes, I do. We have another 8.
Okay, respectable.
We matched last episode to the exact kiss, which is just great. Wonderful. You know how much I love keeping track of all the kisses.
It's your favorite thing.
I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. Yes. Well, do you have any, I guess, is there any Bachelor Nation stuff you wanted to talk about as a finale here?
I think it's been pretty quiet over the last week. There was a bit of a bombshell article that Rachel Lindsay wrote, which I thought was pretty good. Like all the behind the scenes of her time on the show. Just the way she was treated, how evil the producers are, which I always love reading stuff like that.
I mean, I don't think there was ever any question.
No.
That the producers are evil.
But to hear it from a lead, usually the leads do not spill all that tea like she did.
Yeah, well, she was over it.
Yeah, I would be too if I were her.
I feel like you probably would have been over it well before she was over it.
Yeah, she lasted a while, but I mean, when you have to hire people to protect you because you're getting death threats from racist fans, it's time to exit the franchise.
Yeah, that's That's kind of ridiculous. It's also ridiculous, too, because these people, like, know about her. And so just saying, like, because when I first found out about her, right, I had zero context for who she was.
Yeah.
I just, like, because I'd never watched before. I was not in this world whatsoever. Oh, if only I could go back to the time when I was so innocent. So I found out about her, and my initial thought was just like, yeah, like, okay, so she was a bachelorette or whatever. She was on the show. Like, she's probably like not a great person. Like, whatever. Because my only exposure to her was just like seeing some random, new Bachelor news segment. And I think probably the first exposure was that little bit of the Chris Harrison thing. I had never heard of her before, so I was like, well, like, good for her, like, for being in the interview, whatever, and not like throttling him over the internet. Like, I feel like she maybe should wanted to. But that was my only impression of her, and then come to find out, it's like, well, actually, she's like a great lawyer, like all these different things. Like, wow, this is actually like a person of substance, which I totally was not expecting at all. But like, these people know this about her.
I know, but I guess that doesn't matter when you get painted a certain way. I mean, I had forgotten, like the article was talking about how Chris kind of painted her as the, quote, angry black woman all the way back then. And it's just kind of followed her all the way since.
I mean, I feel like anybody would be angry if they were putting up with all that BS.
Yeah. I mean, watching when she was a Bachelorette, I didn't know all of that stuff behind the scenes that was happening. So.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just part of it, is that people don't know these things. And so they make these assumptions, and they're just like, "Oh, well, like we know Chris Harrison. Chris Harrison's great. Like, we love Chris Harrison." Blah, blah, blah. And it's easy to just be like, "Oh yeah, totally. Like, we saw the footage. She's just cranky all the time. Why won't she just calm down? She has this great opportunity." And it's like, well, there's all this other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of combine that with perhaps a worldview that some people have who watch the show, I was kind of funny, but also kind of sad as well. And in the article that we're talking about here, she used the phrase, and I guess this is something that she's mentioned in her podcast.
Yeah.
But talking about how there's Bachelor Nation and Bachelor Clan.
I know, that was genius.
which is
I mean,
which is kind of interesting to think about.
If the shoe fits.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to paint everybody with that.
No,
with
not
that
everybody.
brush, because I think a lot of people are just straight up dumb when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, it's I just don't understand how you hear about stuff like that and just be like, yeah, I can't believe that she would be angry about that.
Yeah. It's the kind of article that when you finish it, I'm like, why am I still watching this show?
Oh boy.
But we soldier on.
Yes, whether we should or not, I guess. Yes, I mean, I guess I specifically joked about this last season, but just, perhaps perhaps me starting a podcast about the show was what was necessary to finally put it in the ground.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Last season was, well, we don't need to rehash that, but what a doozy.
No, that was a disaster.
That was not the greatest season.
No, there were a lot of things about that season that were quite extra.
Yeah. I need Matt to write an article like Rachel did.
Yeah.
And one more thing. Matt was supposed to go on Rachel Lindsay's podcast she has with Van Lathan on Higher Learning. Warner Brothers blocked him. Something about contract stuff. You can't go on.
Oh, okay. So they were like, we'll sue you because you're in breach of an NDA or
yeah, so I'm sure he has plenty of tea to spill, but they're like, nope.
Yeah. That would be interesting to hear too, because I don't know, there's just a lot of conflicting things, because fairly obviously, to me at least, the season did not go well.
No.
and I don't think that you can put a lot of that on him. I mean, I think you can put some of it on him, potentially, but a lot of it not as well. But then, I don't know, I'm also conflicted too, because it's what was going on afterwards?
Yeah, there's a lot of fishy stuff.
There's a lot of question marks and a lot of stuff that's I think he kind of got a bum deal with his season, but I'm also well, do I care? Undetermined.
Yeah, it's hard to care at this point when you're on to the next season now.
Well, yeah, and there were just the reports of the whatever weird stuff was going down, where he was trying to get back with Rachel, but then he also tried to get with this other lady at the same time or something. Weird. Who knows what was happening with that? But anyways, we have gotten off topic a little bit. Try not to talk about that season.
Well, I think that's it for this week.
That is it. An exciting episode. Hopefully Thomas gets what's coming to him soon.
Yes, we can hope.
This has been Group Dates and Hot Takes, a Bachelor Nation podcast. I'm Sampy.
And I'm Christy. We'll talk to you next week.